What's up, guys, and welcome to BitCast episode 95 for the week of December 26th, 2021. I'm your host, Jake Martin, and in the studio this week, we have Landry Smith.
Happy New Year, Jake. Good to see you,
Happy
bud.
New Year. Happy late Christmas. I kind of
Yeah, for
forgot
real.
to ask about that. Did you get anything cool for the holidays?
Yeah, man. Got some video games, got some clothes, typical dad stuff.
Typical dad stuff. Yeah, always the best. Let's see. Yeah, I feel like that's kind of, it wasn't as fun this year. It was like clothes and things that we needed. Hannah and I did this thing called, it's three things. It's something you want, something you need, and something to read.
I
Okay.
love that.
So I got something I wanted. I wanted a jean jacket, Landry.
Oh,
So
nice.
your boy is sporting a
Snazzy.
trendy jean jacket. Okay. And then
Dark denim or like kind of
acid
wash
wash.
denim. Okay,
Acid
nice.
wash. Yeah, yeah,
Very
lighter.
nice.
M-
Clutch.
I'm, I can't probably rock the dark as much as I like to think I could. And then I got slippers. Got to have some of those for the house slippers, just those late night routines, waking up to go put your kid back down to sleep. Um,
Absolutely.
and then the last one was a book. Have you been to the Book and Cover here in Chattanooga yet?
No, I have not.
Okay, it's a cool little bookstore over there in North Shore, and we just picked out books for each other there. And I got this one called The Adventures of Cavalier Clay. It won like a Pulitzer Prize, but
Yeah,
looks good.
I've seen that like all over the place. Never read it. Can't remember the
Michael
author.
Michael Chabon or Cabon or
Yeah.
something like
I
that.
feel like
Yeah,
he's always like every time he comes out with a novel, it's a deal. And
yeah.
I just have never come across anyone who's read his stuff. So please let me know how that is. I'm a big reader myself. So
It's a big book. It's a big book.
nice. Yeah.
And Matt just gave me one of his must reads of sci-fi, so I'm actually just started that. It's called The Three Body Problem. I don't know. It's
Nice.
also
Dude.
won like a scientific, like a Hugo Award, which is usually for like sci-fi novels.
Yeah. You guys got me on Dune earlier this summer.
Oh yeah.
And I gotta be honest, man, like it was great, but I feel like it's the sole reason I didn't meet my reading goal this year. And it's not because the novel is like extraordinarily long. It's just I don't know why. I felt like it was so boring at certain parts. And it was
Yeah.
I still consider it a good novel. And I enjoyed like the philosophical kind of aspects of the story, but at the same time, uh, something didn't click with the way the story was like
Yeah.
plotted out for me. I don't know, but it wasn't a terrible experience by any means, and it was always good enough to keep me reading, but it was never good enough for me to be like, I've got to put down the video
I
game
c-
I'm playing or
right.
the TV show I'm going and go read, And so it really like held me up there for a little bit.
Yeah, I feel the same way about Dune. Like it picks up near the end. It like gets really interesting. Like, but that first half and like three-fourths, it's just kind of you're just like learning about everything. You're like, what even is this? What am I even like? What are these words that this guy is using right now? And
There's
then
definitely a lot of like dense world building in the
a lot of
beginning.
vocabulary that you have to learn because it's just specific to Dune. But
Yes.
yeah, I feel that. I feel that. But hey, I'm glad you powered through and you finished it. So good for you.
Yeah. This bookstore in North Shore, it's the one like right on the strip there.
Yes.
And there's like a record store inside of it as well. Or used to
Yeah.
be.
I don't know about record store, but if you've been to the Rosecomb bar, which is like just on the end of that strip, yeah, it's like right there in like a little like pocket next to the North Shore Park or whatever that park is over there.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I've been there. Dude, it's so weird. Like since I became a dad, I just don't know Chattanooga anymore at all. It's like everything that I've lived here for the majority of my life, but everything I knew about Chattanooga has just completely left my memory. And then all the new stuff popping up, I'm just like,
hmm
yeah, everybody who talks about everything, I'm just like, I don't know. I
I'm
used to know.
starting. I'm starting to feel the same thing. Don't
Yeah,
worry. I think
just
it's
wait
part
till year two
living away
hits.
from downtown, like downtown, and then also, yeah, like just you have priorities. You don't get to go out and do stuff as much as you wanted to anymore. So you're like, yeah, I guess I'll go to the one restaurant that I've heard about since being a dad.
Exactly. Yeah. Liz and I do like pizza and then we have like a Mexican food night. Like that's our
Nice.
weekly thing. And then we'll have a date night like once every 2 months or so and we'll try a new restaurant out. But
I think last time you were on, we talked about Fiesta, which is
yes,
it's a great establishment.
it is I mean, you know what you're gonna get every time. It's never gonna be great, but it's
it's,
perfectly fine every
it's
time.
great. Yeah, exactly. It's what you're wanting. It's what you're wanting from the restaurant. But hey, if you are tuning in And it's been a minute since we've podcasted. I think July 7th is the last time we podcasted about E3, actually. So some things have happened. I'm a dad now, hence why I haven't podcasted in a while. But here we are now, a new dad, and still gaming, still doing stuff, but just in these weird little pockets of time. I'm starting to learn that stuff. But Landry and I are going to be talking about what we've been playing lately because there are some things, and since it's holiday season, we have a week off, and Henry's in daycare, so I actually have time to play some stuff, which has been fun. And then also the Nintendo Switch Online expansion that was released, I think like a month ago, 2 months ago. Basically walking through what that is and how we feel about it. But if you are tuning in today, housekeeping for you, check out the new site redesign. BitBlog has had a bit of an overhaul. It looks a little more clean, a little more crispy. Things are outlined better in there. It's got more modern design. And we've also moved our podcast to Anchor, which doesn't really mean anything for you as a listener, but there's like some cool features that we might try out later, like polling and stuff like that I can put in live and people can like respond to those questions. So pretty cool stuff's happening. But other than that, I do have some reviews coming out for some things we'll be talking about later, but I'm going to kind of just skip over those. So, Landry, actually, I didn't have this on here, but are you sipping on anything right now? You got anything you're drinking?
Yeah, I got a Coke Zero. Keeping
Ooh,
it classy.
Coke Zero. I got a water here. Living that, yeah, you and me
Nice.
living the nice late night dad life right there.
Absolutely.
Um,
Filtered, I hope.
oh yes, absolutely. Yeah, the Hickson water here is there's something in it.
No question.
It's got a nice metallic taste to it. So, Landry, I want to know, I haven't asked this in over 6 months. What are you playing?
Man, you hit me at this time of year where I have 2 weeks off because I'm a teacher, right?
Nice.
And I always struggle with that 2-week time period. Thinking about what to play because there's so much. It's like probably the one time of the whole year that I actually have time to play video games. Because in the summer I teach summer school, so I'll get like little tiny breaks here and there. But like what I did last year and what I've done this year, because I haven't been a teacher for too long, is I just play like a little bit of so many different games, and I wind up not getting through any of them. And the rest of the year, I'm really good about like sitting with one until I finish it. So,
Right.
but the one thing I have spent the most time on probably the past week or so is a little game called Cruisin' Blast.
Cruisin' Blast. What in the world?
Okay, so this is a series that started in the mid 90s as an arcade cabinet with Cruisin' USA.
Okay.
And was also at the time an exclusive to Nintendo 64 with the Cruisin' USA, Cruisin' World, and then
I remember this.
Exotica.
Oh, Exotica. Wow.
Yes. So I had all those games as a kid, and it was really probably my introduction to the arcade racing genre. Before that, it had only been kart racers for me with Super Mario Kart. I don't even think I had Mario 64 growing up, Super Mario Kart 64 growing up, but I loved those games. I played the crap out of them. And Cruisin' Blast it's really surprising to me because if I was to review it, I would give it like an 8 or a 9. And yet I've seen on Metacritic, it's not scored very high. I think it's in like the low 70s, high 60s. But I've seen some opinions going around, like people that are like my age, like in their 30s and 40s that I listen to, content creators and stuff. I'm not in my 40s.
Not yet.
Seem to really love it. And I think what it is it's got the trappings of an arcade game, and people seem to think that's a negative thing. So you go through like Mario Kart, you have like 4 kind of a Grand Prix, you have like 4 races in each one, and there's not a lot of modes outside of that. But what's there is absolutely so much fun. It's completely crazy. Like you'll be driving through a city, and then all of a sudden, like there's this huge donut sign, and the donut gets unlaunched because a UFO blasts it off of its off the sign, and then it's like racing on the course with you, and you're having to like weave in and out,
dodge the donut.
Or yeah, and then like there's a jungle level, and there's dinosaurs all throughout it, but like with modern cars and stuff, and T-Rexes will chase you, and then there's a level with like this huge tornado that just completely uprails the entire level, and then there's a giant earthquake and the track literally falls out from under you. You fall like 200 feet into a completely different like landscape, a different course. It's just like absolutely bonkers. But the
That does
tracks are
sound bonkers.
so fun and like so you just never know what's going to come next. And I've just had a blast with it. It's genuinely
You've
awesome.
had a cruising blast, you might say.
Ah, nice. Well done. Uh,
Dang.
yeah, set you up on that one. But yeah, I think it's a really good game. I think it's probably more an 8 than it is a 9, but it's definitely worth playing if you like arcade racers, if you like even kart racers, I would say. It's got those same mechanics like drifting. You can blow up other cars on the course, but you have to do it by like running into them. There's no
Okay.
weapons
No
or
items.
anything.
Okay.
But still,
Hmm.
it's a lot of fun, and I can't wait to like have my brother over, or maybe when this pandemic ends, have you over or some friends over and
Please.
play it like couch co-op. Because right now there's no online play. That's coming in the future. There's
Okay.
going to be DLC, but it's a very good game.
And something you touched on that I think intrigues me is that it sounds like it embodies what video games should be most of the time, which is like just ridiculous fun. Like it doesn't need to be serious all the time. It can just be a fun, stupid game that you can enjoy with people. And that's, I think, what video games started out as just something to enjoy with people. And then they got really serious and artistic. And
Yeah.
now we're in this weird balance of everything is like that. And there's not a lot of other games that are just kind of like, no, this is just a fun game. Just a fun game for you guys to play.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I've kind of like bounced off. There are like 5 serious single player games out there that I really enjoy and consider like serious
Hmm.
art pieces, I guess. But I guess that since that's the direction the whole entire video game industry has gone into, it's almost like they forget sometimes that it's entertainment. Like they're selling an entertainment product. They're not selling like a piece of art. Like even if it's a good story, there's not a lot of density there. There's not a lot to
Right.
actually take from it. So at the end of the day, it's an entertainment product and a hobby for most of us. So just give us
Hmm.
something like silly and shallow and fun and call it what it is. A game like Cruisin' Blast, I can pop in and play for 15 minutes at a time
And you have a great time every
and
time.
have a great time every time. I'm not looking for something that I can sink an hour into a night, at this point in my
Right.
life.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you mentioned that because I have gone on like somewhat of a binge over the holidays because all these sales, right? And for some reason, I've convinced myself that I'm going to be able to play these like massive JRPGs because I'm in the mood for them right now. I'm just like, oh, I'm just going to play all these like JRPGs. So I picked up Tales of Vesperia on Switch for like $13, which I think is like an
Wow.
80 plus hour game. But it was a great deal, and I was like, I
That's
might
an
as well do
amazing
this.
deal.
I've been trying to get back through Fire Emblem Three Houses, which is also an excellent JRPG, and I restarted my save on that. I was only like 8 hours in, but
Oh, wow.
I was just like, I don't even know what's going on. I'm just gonna restart this. So I've started that as well, and then I also got Tales of Arise, which I think is like another in the Tales series RPGs just for PS5 because it was also on sale for like $30. And I was like, yeah, I'll just pick that up. And it looks like it's getting good reviews. So I have all these JRPGs that I have yet to really even scratch the surface on. So that's what I've kind of been playing. But also, I did just beat. I do want to talk about this game because I really loved it. Death's Door is what I was playing over the holiday break slash last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and that game is so good, man. I talked about it to you guys on the text chat, but it's just like just a top down classic, simple action game. There's some story to it, but in reality, the best part about it is its simplicity. It's not asking you to do all kinds of crazy stuff. It is difficult in certain areas, like the combat can be difficult, but it's only like 3 buttons. You know, attack, roll, and then you have like a ranged attack, and that is it. And so you basically just figure out how to time those correctly, and that's the entire game. There's like some small light puzzling elements going on, but really a majority of that game is just exploring these beautiful worlds, good music, and like just I think like really excellent art design. Just makes it an excellent experience. So yeah, I really enjoyed Death's Door. I'm playing that, and then as you saw today, I just started Paper Mario, which is also another somewhat lengthy RPG. So I've been deep in it, man. I've been I've been deep in it
Nice.
lately.
I love it, man. Death's Door is a game that was made for me. And I told you in the text thread, I was like, man, the art style just did not appeal to me when I saw trailers for it.
Yeah.
And I looked up the trailer that I saw. It came out around E3, I think, and
Hmm.
they really did only show off, like, I guess it's the starting area. I've never played the game, so, but it did seem like there was only one like particular color palette for like
Hmm.
one level. And then I looked at, I Google imaged some stuff because you're like, the art style is amazing. I was like, okay, I know Jake's taste in games. We pretty much have very similar taste in games, and
From
if
what
he
I've
likes the
seen,
art
he's
style,
insane. Yeah.
yeah, he probably has some good ground for it. So I looked it up, and it looks like some really beautiful stuff happens. I think there's like, what is there, like a color washed like base level or something that's just like grays and
Yeah,
kind
the
of,
main hub world that you are in is like the crows essentially is black and white with just
okay,
these little like tiny bursts of color like through your sword or like a neon sign and stuff like that. But everything else is just black and white. Um,
yeah, which
I
is
don't know if that's like
cool.
a metaphor or it's supposed to mean something, but I don't know. It's just black and white.
It's cool. I don't know that it sells the game well though, if you're just showing that
If you
one part,
see that,
especially when the other like levels look so beautiful and vibrant.
right?
So I definitely want to give this a shot. I've heard comparisons to Zelda, like Link to the Past, that kind of style of Zelda play.
Yeah,
And
it is that kind of navigation. It's all one giant connected world that you can get from one end to the other end if you want to. But there's also these doors that you open up as you go across that let you like essentially fast travel if you know where each one kicks out at. So it's like you're in the forest and you're like, oh, I need to get over to the mountains, and you can go back into the hub world and pop into the mountains, and it's a lot faster. So yeah, it's great.
nice.
I really enjoyed my time with that. So if you guys are looking for any games to check out, Landry and I both recommend Cruise and Blast and Death's Door. Two games you guys should definitely check out. JRPGs only if you have time. All right, well, let's jump into the main topic of the show then. And this is going to be the Nintendo Switch Online expansion. I don't even know when this released. I should have this written down in this document, but I don't. I know it was like 2 months ago, maybe. Um,
It was like
but
middle of October, but I don't
yeah,
know the exact date.
but here are the basic details. So, Nintendo Switch Online expansion is a service that is through Nintendo Switch, just like the SNES collection, where originally we were paying $20 and we got SNES, NES games, online service, and I guess access to their mobile app or something like that. But this adds N64 games and also the Animal Crossing New Horizons DLC for $50 a year instead of $20 a year. And so if you're wondering, the 10 N64 games they have right now that are available or that it launched with essentially are Dr. Mario 64, Mario Kart, Mario Tennis, Paper Mario, Sin and Punishment, Star Fox 64, Super Mario 64, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, Winback, Covert Operations in all caps, and Yoshi's Story. And then it also came with 14 Genesis games, which is super out of just left field, and a bunch of ones that like I don't really have a ton of familiarity with, but they have like the names ring a bell. So Castlevania, Bloodlines, Contra, Hardcores, or Hardcorps, I guess, Hardcore, I don't know. Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, Echo the Dolphin, Golden Axe, Gunstar Heroes, Musha as an acronym, Fantasy Star, Rystar, Shining Force, Shinobi 3, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Streets of Rage 2, and Strider. And then also you get like online play with the N64 games, which is pretty cool. But that's kind of it. So just real quick before we jump into like the discussion, Landry, do you have the online expansion?
I do, yeah. I didn't buy it immediately, but I got it about a month ago.
Okay. What like jump made you interested in even checking it out?
From the very beginning, I was sold. I mean, I know initially the price point is, in my opinion, a little steep, but I liked Animal Crossing a lot, and
Hmm.
the DLC for that alone, I think, is $20, maybe
Yeah.
25. It's 25. So at $29.99, I'm getting a $25 DLC plus Nintendo 64 back catalog and Genesis too. I love Nintendo 64. I don't have mine anymore. I sold it a couple Christmases ago
Hmm.
for some spare cash, and I just really love a lot of those games. A lot of them are nostalgic to me and hold a place in my heart. So I was pretty stoked on it.
Yeah.
Really, when they announced it. What
I
about you?
was I was in the same boat. I went into this podcast thinking I was going to be a bit more cynical, but hearing you say that, I mean that is exactly what happened to me too. I mean, huge N64 fan. I think that was what got me into gaming in the first place. I think we talked on our podcast before about, how amazing I feel like Mario 64 was and how formative that was for me as a kid. But like, yeah, I saw this. I have an N64 and I was like, well, $50 for 10 N64 games that, you know, would generally go for at least like $40 to $60 each, if not more. I think Paper Mario usually runs for like $70. And then like all these Genesis games, I was like, yeah, the value works out. And really, when I was considering it or comparing it to like PlayStation Plus, I was like, I pay already $60 a year for PlayStation Plus, and I only get two random games, whereas I get, a bunch of pretty solid N64 games that I know at least I'll check out periodically. So yeah, for me, it was like I'm definitely going to do this. But now that I've had it, I still have a few complaints. I still have a few things that I'm not happy with. I don't know if you feel that way or not.
Yeah, I mean, I think the entire internet um, has raised their pitchforks, and I think there's some ground to stand on. I think a lot of it is hyperbole, but we'll definitely talk about it. There's some things that I have some complaints on for sure.
So yeah, I guess we can jump into that. For me, like, I don't know, what I've been hearing about is the emulation. Like, the emulation in some of these games is not great. They used like the legit full copy of the original N64 game, and it like there was like the Rumble Pack queue was still missing or something like that in some games. It's like, hey, you need to insert the Rumble Pack, and it's like, I don't need to because I'm not playing N64. And then like there was like some problem with I think some delay stuff on Paper Mario, and just like the versions of the games themselves aren't the best that they could be. Um, and then also for me, I think really when I was like once I actually got into this, the only games that I would want to really play on this are, again, I'm playing Paper Mario right now, but Paper Mario, I messed around with Mario 64, but I already have that in the 3D All Stars collection, and then Ocarina of Time, but that's a really terrible way to play Ocarina of Time now compared to the 3DS version. so
Yeah.
so I was like, I don't think I want to play that. I can appreciate it, but I don't want to play it. And then of course I will play Mario Kart 64 at some point. I know that. I know I will. I know I'll do that, especially because it has online like functionality. But other than
Yeah,
that, I've
that's
just been kind of like, yeah, it's fine.
I'll, the one game I've played a lot that you didn't mention is Star Fox.
Mm,
And I have that on the 3DS, and it looks better on the 3DS, but there's something about Star Fox on the 64 emulator that the 3DS doesn't have, and that's save states. And that
mm.
game, for me, not growing up with it, is very difficult, and I've never been able to beat it on my 3DS. So using save states, I'm working my way through. I feel like I
Ah.
will beat it, and that game looks really clean, and I think holds up better than a lot of the
Mm-hmm.
uh, Nintendo 64 games. It just looks beautiful on the emulator. Mario
Mm.
Kart 64 looks pretty good.
Yeah.
I've played most of the childhood section of Ocarina of Time on the emulator,
Mm-hmm.
and here's some of the things that I've heard on the internet about Zelda and the whole emulator in particular. First is input lag. Um,
Mm.
Basically, it break like with Super Mario 64. I've seen some people say, "Oh, it drops 2 to 4 frames per like button movement." That is so minuscule that literally, unless you're a speedrunner, you will not notice that.
Yeah.
It's like
Yep.
you will not notice that. And with Ocarina of Time, it is a little more significant. I also played side to side the 3DS version as I've been playing the 64 emulator.
Mm.
First of all, the 3DS version is so good,
I
and
know. I
the
know.
changes they made just to the character models alone are
Mm-hmm.
fantastic, and it just looks beautiful compared to the 64 version. And the text, this is the big thing, the text scrolls by faster. It's huge. It's huge. It's a game changer.
You
It's
can
so
read
much
through it.
quicker.
Oh, okay. And you're missing one of the biggest things, which is the menu being on the touch screen, so you
Also
can
true.
quickly take your iron boots on and off when you get to the water temple. instead
Yes.
of having to hit start and scroll over in the menus, take your boots off and put them back on.
So true, and I have not actually gotten to that part again
Oh.
yet. But so the input lag is minuscule but noticeable, I think, in Ocarina of Time. Not to the
Mhm.
normal consumer. Like if you weren't playing them side to side, you would not notice anything. It does
Yeah.
not have any effect on normal people, unless you read it online and had something in your head already going into the game. The
Mhm.
second thing is there are certain for each individual game, there are going to be certain quirks. For Ocarina of Time, the biggest one is the fog rendering in the Ocarina of Time is pretty significant, and really what it did was the developers knew that the draw distance was pretty garbage on the 64, and these graphic textures couldn't hold up, so they did a genius thing. They added all this fog in certain areas, and it makes the game look cleaner and crisper. And
Mhm.
in the emulation, all the textures are up-resed, but there's not the fog is not the same in the emulator. They like somehow they did not get that in correctly. And so you can see much farther, which is not necessarily a good thing. Even though the textures are cleaned up, it's like,
It
whoa,
looks
that
so
looks
bad.
ugly. That looks like legitimately ugly. And this happened on the Grand Theft Auto trilogy
Yes, I
port as
remember
well.
this.
Like you
Yep.
can, if you're flying in a helicopter over San Andreas, you can see everything. And it's like, well, things are not loading incorrectly. Like there's a reason the fog and haze was there. Um, so that is the one thing I think that Ocarina of Time loses aesthetically if you were playing it like on a Nintendo 64, on a CRT TV, or even the emulated version on the Wii has
Mhm.
the fog rendering correct.
Mhm.
Um, that's where it is the worst, I think. Other complaints are on the net code. I haven't played online yet. I'm sure it's garbage. Everything online on Nintendo Switch is garbage. That's an expectation at this point. If you expect
But
anything better, you're just
but are we
not
giving
playing the
them a
Switch.
pass because they have just been like they've been so historically bad at netcode and online that we're just like, oh, it's okay. I expect it to be bad from Nintendo. Like
Uh,
I feel like it should be better. I
I'm
feel like
not
it
giving
should be
them a
better.
pass. I just don't think I don't know much about like technology and stuff. From what I understand, the lowest like if we were playing online and my internet connection sucked and yours was
Mm.
amazing, both of ours would suck because it like whoever the lowest one in the match is gonna slow everything down. There's not like a server that everything's going to. So because that's like the system they've already installed in the Switch, we can't expect it to be different. It's not going to change mid course through the system.
Mm.
We can't give them a pass, but as a consumer, if you don't know that already going in, I do think that's your own fault. Like, it's not going to change for this Nintendo Switch online emulator.
I love Landry explains how Nintendo netcode works. I
Yeah.
feel like I just learned a lot there.
Oh, really? I thought maybe it was completely wrong. So
No, no, that sounds right. I mean,
that's my own dumb uh, understanding of it.
I always thought it used the fastest connection, and then but it bogged down your connection in trying to help everyone else's connection. Like I don't know how it works. It's netcode is crazy to me. Um, but yeah, like none of that makes a huge difference to me. And also, you know this, but I have the wireless N64 controller, which is pretty sweet. Um, and I'm really impressed with this. It like they really stuck to the exact same form factor. Like it feels perfect. It feels exactly like a 64 controller should feel. Um, but the one thing I'll say about the latency is that I kind of already expected the latency with an N64 because, I mean, if you play the original console, it may be a bit more responsive, but in reality, like a lot of those games were like mushy and slow. I mean,
Yeah.
like Super Smash Bros. In particular, I just remember like the meta was to like hit your command over and over and over again before, so like you could get your attack out the fastest because there was such like delay in like what you were doing.
Go
Uh,
go read game reviews or a game magazine from the mid 90s. Frame rate was not a consideration. Like everything chugged. Like it was
yeah,
just a understanding in the early 3D gaming days. And I mean, I never heard frame rate pop up to like the 360 era.
everything
Really
chugged.
when competitive gaming really started to take hold.
I mean, it is noticeable sometimes in modern gaming. You're like, ooh, that wasn't good. But on an old N64 emulator, I'm like, yeah, I mean, this is exactly what it's supposed to be like. So
Some of those games are dependent on slowdown. Like if you have
yeah,
a shmup or like Gradius on the Super
hmm
Nintendo, try and play that without slowdown. And you're going to get wrecked every time, and you need it because the enemy is slowing down. Is like where you can figure out where to put your next attack.
it's like okay, this game is almost bricking at this point, but I know how to move over here to dodge these bullets.
Yep.
um, so I know we have Banjo and Kazooie confirmed for the N64 coming out next. I haven't seen any Genesis games, and I guess before we talk about N64 some more, are you going to play any of the Genesis games? Do you have any interest in those?
Yeah, I've played quite a few of them. One of my buddies, I posted a controversial tweet about a month ago, saying that like if you put a top 10 Super Nintendo list together, the Genesis best game wouldn't even crack that. And he was like, that should be your next Twitch endeavor, is trying to find a Genesis game that could crack the top 10 of the Super Nintendo. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna put in some time and play through some of the great ones, and
Mm,
still nothing yet. But the emulation's amazing,
that's
and
what I've heard. Yeah.
they actually already released 5 more games for the Genesis like a week ago without really telling anybody about it. If you just open it up, you probably have 5 new games to download, and it's like
Oh,
Thunder Force 2. There's a new platformer that I'd never heard of, but is actually pretty fun.
okay.
The other ones, I Altered Beast is on there now, which was a
Oh
launch title for
yeah.
the Genesis and has some historical merit, even though it plays like trash now.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Dynamite, Heady, Toe
that's
Jam and Earl.
another big, kind of like big marquee Genesis title.
Yeah. Thunder Force 2 and Sword of Vermilion.
That's like a first-person RPG. I
Hmm.
can't imagine anyone having the patience to play that in 2021. But
Do not play this. Do not play this game. Yeah, I watched some gameplay of Altered Beast and I was like, I'm not gonna play this game. I just knew it when I looked at it. I was like, this is not for me.
I grew up in the early 90s, and I remember having friends who had the Genesis, and at launch it was like Golden Axe and Altered Beast, which I wasn't really around coherently for launch, but I still
Mhm.
remember in like second and third grade having friends who had those titles, and I loved playing them back then. But walking around as a giant beast that's like literally, it's hilarious. The sprite for that game is like the entire screen,
Yeah, it's huge.
and
I
you
saw
just
the
like wreck fools. So that's pretty fun.
yeah, as a kid. Yeah, again, dumb fun, just jump around as an altered beast and just kill things. Um,
Exactly.
so yeah, I know we have like Banjo and Kazooie coming out next month. Paper Mario we just got, which is again probably one of my favorite N64 titles. But uh, what else does the service need to do to be worth $50 a year? Because I feel like the Animal Crossing Horizons DLC is kind of weird because it goes away if you stop paying for it. So it's kind of like this, like, okay, well, I mean, I'm getting it. I'm paying $50 a year for these N64 games. Realistically, I'm only going to play like 2 or 3 of these that come out on here. I might dip into Banjo. I know they have like a list of announced or games that they had like a little slider reel. I remember that when they were talking
Yeah.
about it. I'm sure like all their mainline titles are going to come out, but there's not a lot of N64 games that I think they'll have an easy time releasing because Donkey Kong 64 was a rare game. And there's just a lot of other IP that they have to like shuffle around and try to figure out because they don't own a lot of those studios anymore. I know they own the IP, so they can do a lot of that stuff. But a lot of the best games, like I mean, GoldenEye, for example, it's a great game, but I don't know if they're going to get that on the service.
If that
Um,
came out, it would be a huge deal, from a historical perspective, because that license is tied up so many different
oh
ways.
yeah, dude.
Um, I doubt it would ever happen. It would be way too much money, really, unless you were going to do like a complete overhaul and sell it as a game and expect to make
Mhm.
a lot of money off of it. But
And also worth considering, GoldenEye is only worth playing with other people, potentially co-op online if they can fix it would be amazing. But that game really doesn't hold up very well by modern standards, like in terms of aiming around and shooting. And if you want to play couch co-op, each of these controllers, the N64 controllers, is $50. So you're spending $200 to play a really shitty
yeah,
four-person shooter, and it's like, is this worth it? Am I just wasting money now at this point?
Yeah, you literally have to like aim with the C buttons because there's not dual analog sticks on
yeah.
the Nintendo 64, and the controls are like stock inverted. It's
Hmm.
very difficult to play. Like if you just sit down and play, like it will break your brain for the first like 5 minutes.
Break your brain. I guess you could play with a Pro controller, whereas the right joystick could be the C sticks. I don't know how that works, but that is
Yeah,
an option.
that might work really well actually.
Might make it better. But yeah, like I guess to my other question, what does the like the service still need that you feel like it's missing, or do you feel like it's missing anything?
Yeah, I think you've got that fancy little Nintendo 64 controller. That's amazing. My biggest
That
complaint
fancy controller.
for the emulator is all those things that I brought up. Like, honestly, I don't think they're even an issue for the normal person. Like, if you grew up playing Nintendo 64 your whole life, you're going to fire up Ocarina of Time and you're going to be like, oh, this is weird, but it's still going to be enough of the true experience to get you where you want to be, I think.
Hmm.
All the other games I've booted up, I honestly feel are pretty good and like they're emulated pretty well. The controller's the real issue, man. Like it is not optimized for the Nintendo 64 at all very well. Like I'm not even going to go into trying to explain just the way they screwed that up for the Pro controller or the Joy-Con, but they should have let the player map out the controls to their own liking. And
Mm.
honestly, each individual game could work, but because they just did like this overall kind of same control scheme for every game and didn't let you adjust it, it doesn't work for any of them. So
Yeah.
except for I think Star Fox and Mario Kart feel really good right out of the gate. I haven't played Mario Tennis yet.
Yeah. Mario Tennis feels good, but again, I was playing it on this, so I can't
Yeah,
confirm. But I did play a little bit of Mario 64 with the Pro controller, and it wasn't bad
it's
because
not bad.
I think I had just come from playing either Bowser's Fury or something else, and I was kind of like doing some long jumps and practicing, and I was like, this feels fine. It doesn't feel great. Like I miss the Z, like having like the Z trigger to like be able to actually like execute those long jumps just feels so good. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, I feel you on that. Like I know you can remap controls. I think you can do it on like on the Switch. Isn't there a
you
way to like
can.
remap controls?
You can, but that's so cumbersome to have to go in and remap for your entire system just to play one game and then like adjust it
True.
back.
True.
Um,
Yeah. Not a good solution. So remapping controls potentially.
yeah, that would be a
Um,
huge thing for me. The next thing I think would be Super Smash Brothers. Like that seems like a layup. Just put that
yeah.
on there. It's a completely different game than Ultimate. It's not going to step on anyone's toes.
Yeah.
Um, I'll be honest, dude. I probably would only just get in there and play like break the targets. I love those mini games. That's so much fun. I remember playing those for hours as a kid, and
Yeah.
I would love to fire that up and have like 15 minutes doing that, and then
Just do one run through the adventure mode and just fight Master Hand and call it a day.
yeah, that would be pretty much it for me.
Which one do you like more, break the targets or race to the finish?
Oh, they're both really fun. Break the
Or
targets.
isn't there a platform one too? Just jumping on the platforms. I forget what it is, but you have to like land on the platforms.
Yeah, that sounds right.
It
I
like
I
lights
just
up.
remember those Smash Brothers was different in the Nintendo 64 days. Like now, Ultimate, you get it and it makes sense. The controls make sense, but on the 64, it was a learning curve. Like
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
physics were different than any other platformer and any other fighter at the same time. So you really had to like kind of wrap your head around the controls. And I think those games did a really good job of teaching me as a kid how to fight in that game. So that's
Mm-hmm.
why I really liked them so much. In retrospect, back then I was just like, let's just complete the challenge. Um, the one thing that would obviously make this worth $50 is if they continue to give you DLCs
Yeah.
for their mainline games.
Oh, so like if you are a Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion, this next DLC that's coming out for Monster Hunter is included, or this
Not
next.
necessarily Monster Hunter, but like their mainline stuff. Like say that big Pokemon DLC they had
Mm,
for Armor Isle or whatever.
yeah.
Um, that would be included. And then when Breath of the Wild comes out, if there's DLC, that will be included as well. And you won't have to pay the extra $20 if you're an expansion pack owner. That would be a really, really good service. And I think it would bring a lot of people in. And honestly, I think it would be financially profitable for Nintendo, but that might be a little bit of a leap of faith.
Yeah, I don't know. That's actually a good point because like it would be in one sense a great way to get people on their like higher tiered subscription service and as a way to like get them introduced to these games. But I wonder what the numbers are in terms of DLC bought per software title. So, I mean, I imagine most people that played Breath of the Wild probably got the DLC for that game. I did. I don't.
Yeah,
Did you get that?
yes, I did. I was just thinking, but there's different demographics that play games, right? Like me and you have expendable income, whereas a 13-year-old kid may not be able to get it, but their parents may have bought them the online subscription and pay for that every year, So, but maybe not. Maybe that 13-year-old kid doesn't have the online subscription and just doesn't play anything. So, or does what we did, like gets 2 games a year, one at birthday, one at Christmas. So
Yeah, that's a good idea though. I think knowing Nintendo, I don't know if they would go for that. I just feel like they're a bit too frugal when it comes to that kind of stuff. Like they want to make sure that they can charge for both. So it's like, okay, we'll give you timed access to this DLC. I could see them doing something like that, where it's like when this game first comes out, if you are a Nintendo Switch Online Plus subscriber, you'll have access to this new DLC, but it's going to be gone in 3 months or whatever. And then after that, you'll have to pay for it or whatever. Like I just feel like I could see them doing that, where they would just upcharge or
yeah,
get people on consistently over and over and over again, to where people just don't care that they're paying an extra $30 a year as opposed to the $20. I could see them
yeah.
doing that.
I hate those time limit things, man. I get so stressed out. I can't remember a time I ever played one actually, because I'm like, okay, if I actually enjoy this and they take it away from me, I'm going to have to buy it anyway. So why don't I just never play it?
It's never happened. Like I know like Xbox has timed exclusives, or like they'll have stuff on Game Pass that leaves eventually, but I don't feel like I've ever had an issue with that on like, I mean, they said they were going to stop selling 3D All-Stars, but I'm pretty sure you can buy that anywhere in stores still. Like it still exists everywhere, and I
Yeah.
think you can buy it online also. So I don't know. I need to double check on that, but
Physically, you can't buy a digital version.
yeah, maybe that's what it is. But nonetheless, I'm kind of with you on that. I think they just need to probably up the pace of N64 releases and just make sure they're like consistent quality ones. Like I think someone else was talking about this, but like one N64 release per month is probably okay, because in reality, there's not a lot of N64 games that were good. I would say there's probably only about 20 to probably about 20 good N64 games, and the rest are just kind of like, yeah, this is fine. Um,
Yeah.
so I think if they just like up the pace of like releasing those for the next year, 2 years, and then introduce whatever the next service is with their new console that they release inevitably, I think that would be kind of the move.
Yeah. I'm just really sad that NFL Blitz will never make the cut. That is like an amazing Nintendo 64 game.
You never know. You never know, man. That could be one of those weird ones where like,
Yeah, I think Midway did that, and they're like a dead. I don't know who they sold that to. They probably sold it to EA.
I feel like it was like THQ Nordic or something like that, like bought
Oh
it or
yeah,
something. I don't even know who bought them up. But yeah, that is like, those are the kinds of games, those fringe games that like are owned by so many people that I just feel like no one cares enough anymore to be like, okay, yeah, you can have it. And obviously it's the NFL, but the NFL is trying to get in on that kind of trendy gamer stuff. They're trying to get the
I
gamers.
forgot about
So
the
like, oh yeah,
NFL,
we'll give you NFL Blitz, and just you guys can have that one, sure. Well, as long as we make some money off of it.
You know what's interesting about that is there's no player likeness in that one because everyone's like roided out of like their mind. So
Yep.
you might actually be able to get away with that like copyright, because you wouldn't have to do like the player likeness kind of bull crap.
Mm-hmm. I mean, their names are still in it, but that's about it. Yeah,
You could edit that out and just do the numbers. That would be fine.
just the guy
Yeah.
on the Broncos.
That's like Tecmo Bowl and Bases Loaded back in the day. That's what all the sports games used to be.
Oh man. Yeah. So I guess to close out, if you are an individual that is nostalgic like Landry and I, and you want to revisit some N64 games, just know that it's not that much more than your original expansion. So the $30 increase isn't that much if you just want to try some games out. But as Landry may have said, you kind of hinted at, like, I do feel like the best way to play the N64 games is with the N64 controller. And that's an extra $50. And it's the same for the Genesis controller as well. So you're already looking at like $100 sort of investment per year just to play some of these games. And in reality, you probably only dabble in a few of them. So $100 for a little trip down nostalgia lane is kind of what you're looking at here. But for me right now, I'm playing we mentioned on the stream today, but I'm playing Paper Mario, and you can't get an N64 controller, a system in that game for under $100 anyways.
No, the 64 is $100 with a controller by itself.
Right. So
if you're Paper Mario is probably another 60.
Yeah, $60-$70 for that game. So if you're wanting to just play those games and get out of it, I mean, this is a good option. I don't think it's a bad option, but it's also one that still is just strangely not great. You know, in classic Nintendo fashion, you're just kind of like, this is fine. This is fine.
I would venture to call it good, but it is definitely not great. It is definitely not going to blow your socks off. It's bare minimum. That's a lot of times we get that from Nintendo.
It's no Game Pass. Don't think it's like Game Pass. It's not that. It's just.
But it's not $15 a month either, which is a huge commitment in my opinion.
Yeah, it is. It is exactly. So, you know, $50 a year, whatever that works out to math wise, a little bit under $5 per month. You know, not bad to check out some old N64 games. So, and then I guess if you're a person that really just is cash grabbed, I don't know. I still feel like if you like Animal Crossing New Horizons and you want to just check out that DLC, this is a good way just to play through it and then be done with it. And I think if you do subscribe, you have a discounted rate to actually purchase the DLC permanently if you want to for New Horizons as well. So there's that option as well. But yeah, I mean, overall, I think it's decent. I always want more, and I think for me the dream game, like you, Landry, said, would be the Smash Bros, the original Smash Bros, and then either Mario Party 2 or 3. That would be huge for me.
Yeah, I've never played the old Mario Parties. That would be cool for me as well.
But again, the problem is you need to have controllers to make those games fun. So
yeah.
Well, I guess if we could play those games, would probably be okay on Pro Controller because it's just literally joystick and A and B usually.
Yeah, I mean, everything works with the Pro Controller. It's just a little difficult to figure out.
It works. It works. It's fine. It's fine. Well, all right then. Unfortunately, y'all, that is the end of the podcast. But if you are considering getting Nintendo Switch Online, please let us know what your thoughts are of it. There's many thoughts, as Landry had mentioned earlier on the internet, about the online offering. So tell us what you think about it. Landry, thank you so much for being on the podcast, man.
Thanks for having me, Jake. It's good to get back on the mics.
Good to be back, brother. Make sure you check out bitbloggist.com. We'll have some new content up there shortly. And then also, again, we're streaming some stuff, playing some Paper Mario and just hanging out there. So going over to Twitch or on Facebook to see those replays. And then also, if you want to, write into us at bitbloggist.com/contact. You can write questions in and we'll read them off on the show. But until next time, y'all, this has been BitCast. Thanks for tuning in to talk about some stuff.
Wait for my mark.
Peace.